Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I was scrolling through YouTube and came across this video, and I will react to this video as a Muslim. Let's go.
Have you ever heard Muslim apologists sing the praises of Muhammad as if he's the OG feminist icon?
If you ever heard a Muslim saying uh, Muhammad was a feminist, they must mean Muhammad was a feminist relative to the culture he grew up, because us Muslims don't believe in that Muhammad was a Muslim was a feminist at all, and it, Muhammad never has a claim that uh, women and men must be treated exactly the same. Uh, Muhammad says women and men are humans and equal. They have some differences and thus different capabilities. For this reason, they should be treated slightly differently, most importantly, fairly. Let's go.
They say that he broke all the rules to give women rights that they never had before.
Uh, this is wrongly true. We really believe in that because not only because the culture he grew in was extremely sexist and extremely biased and oppressive against women. Uh, we really, all, we really believe the Muhammad, the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam broke the best, fairest law for women.
But hold on to your hijabs, folks. We're going to dive into some juicy details in this video and see if this claim is all that it's cracked up to be.
I guess he told uh, Muhammad was a feminist just to prove he wasn't, so he can automatically disprove woman Muhammad was fighted for. Muhammad has fighted has fought for fight for women rights. So okay.
For starters, did you know that in the Quran, one man's testimony is worth two women's? Surah 2282 states that if two men aren't available,
Uh, this verse is true. I mean, he really put the verse, and we believe in that. If you don't believe in that, it's your opinion. However, the socialists argued about this topic, and it's not my expertise to argue about this topic, so I won't argue about this topic neither.
one man and two women should serve as witnesses. Isn't the witness of a woman equal to half of that of a man?
Uh, I didn't read all of the hadiths, and you can see this is the name of the book. This is the section. This is the index of the hadith. Uh, and you can easily say there's many hadiths, and there's tens of thousands of hadiths actually, which we value, and this is only one of them. I guess he picked a moderately offensive one of them uh, to make it look bad.
This is because of the deficiency of the woman's mind, not.
Other than that, we accept this hadith as right. We just uh, don't value this as much as the video shows, because after all there is tens of thousands of hadiths, and this is only one of them. There may be many of hadiths like this one, but uh, it wouldn't be thousands.
Not exactly feminist. He doubles down later in Sahih al-Bukhari saying, "O women, the majority of dwellers in hellfire were you women. You curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not."
I guess this hadith is to emphasize uh, behaving well to your husband, because of the li- culture of Arabic conversations. Literature was a really huge aspect, uh, it can be true that most of the women, most of the people in the hell are women. After all, some part will be the majority, but it's not so important.
Not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. Yikes. So, according to Muhammad, women are intellectually and religiously deficient. And that ties nicely into Muhammad's take on women in the afterlife. As we just read in Sahih al Bukhari, Muhammad says that most of hell's inhabitants are women because they're ungrateful to their husbands. And in Sahih Muslim, Muhammad is reported to have said, amongst the inmates of
This is the book's name. This is the section's name. Sections indexed. This is the hadiths indexed.
paradise, the women would form a minority. So, what about the
Uh, Also, this makes sense because women are minority. Just by 0.1%, there is more men than women because uh, sperm sperm cells with Y chromosome instead of X chromosome is more likely to reach to the egg. I don't Scientist doesn't know why. I heard this from a YouTube video from the channel, I guess 5 minutes science or something like that. Minute science, or it can be minute science. So after all, some part will be the majority, some part will be the minority.
Muhammad is reported to have said, amongst the inmates of paradise, the women would form a minority. So, what about the few women who are good enough to make it into paradise? Even here, it's extremely troubling. According to Sahih al Bukhari, women in paradise are described as standing in the corners of a pavilion, waiting for men to come and enjoy them. It reads, in paradise, there is a pavilion.
This hadith doesn't talk about the Muslim women that end up in the paradise. Actually, uh, uh, in Muslim resources, it's believed that Muslim men who end up in the heaven will have some spouses, some wives, but these wives are not true human. They didn't came from the world. They created in the heaven, uh, and this hadith talks about that. And actually, it's disgusting to see this hadith in here. Like it's not even related.
Made of a single hollow pearl, and the belief celestial harem? Not exactly.
This is not how Muslim women meant to end up in the heaven. In heaven, it's believed that every single person, true human, I mean, every single person will have a world, has a field at the size of world, at least size of the world. So this is certainly not the fate of the Muslim woman.
Exactly a win for women's rights. Now let's talk about Muhammad's troubling teachings on women in marriage. In Surah 434, it says, men are the caretakers of women. As for women of whom you fear,
This verse is true. I reached no, the this verse while reading Quran, and I didn't test this verse a lot. I guess I'm still at in, in the An-Nisi surah, but it's called Nisa, but whatever. No, this is kind of a mistranslation because actually the word in the Quran really means beat, but uh, I mean translation of the word in the Quran really means beat. However, that word in Quran has a special meaning. It's like a term. I guess it's called a term. And in Quran there is many terms like, uh, for example, Muslim means that obeys. Actually, Muslim means obeys, or Muslim means that when a criminal uh, decides to pull their hands up. However, in Quran, Muslim means pretty much Muslim, like the one who worship the Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. So this is one of them. This doesn't the beat in here doesn't mean punching or beating or anything like that. It's like nudging, it's like poking. Yeah. So this can be
Convince them.
this can be accepted as a mistranslation.
Leave them apart in beds and beat them lightly. Then, if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. This verse permits men to beat their wives.
This is like straight up skip.
Is an incident involving Aisha, Muhammad's favorite wife. You guys probably know the story. She was married to Muhammad at 6 years old, and Muhammad consummated the marriage with her when she was only 9.
This is false and it's complicated. At the time of the Prophet, uh, in the Arabic culture, women's age was calculated less than what it is. So, because they start counting women's age after women reach puberty, which happens around age 88 and 12. So 6 years old means actually means 14 to 18 years old, and 9 years old actually means something like 7 to 17 to 21. Also at that time, Prophet Muhammad has enemies, and enemies of the Prophet Muhammad called him delusional, insane, possessed, rebellious, stupid, ungrateful, against the culture, and etc. However, they never said he was uh, Pitrido or pervert. Uh, I do not mean he committed something pervert or Pitrido and nobody didn't care. He simply didn't commit. Actually, when Prophet Muhammad married Asia, actually she was an adult at the age of the marriage. Also in Islam, age of the marriage is after puberty when people feel ready, which happens to be after 14. Other than that, Asia was an hmm, adult, very a really young adult. For this and people didn't really record her age, didn't really care about her age. For this reason, they simply said something like uh, 18 to 18, 17 to say she was young, because they actually didn't care at all. Uh, However, the way they say 18 is simply by saying uh, 8. So, for this reason, she re, uh, for European or West uh, researchers thought the Asia was a child at the time she was married Muhammad. Uh, it's false. Like it's just a mistranslation for some reason. As I said before, uh, Arabic people at that time calculated woman's age less than what it is. For this reason, Asia looked like a child. She wasn't a child, so it doesn't matter at all.
9. She observed, I have not seen any women suffering as much as the believing women. Later, she remarks about a friend saying, look, her skin is greener than her clothes. In this story about a woman who was severely bruised, Muhammad sided with the abusive husband, hardly defending women's rights. This next topic is not PG, but we need to tackle it.
I don't know about this one. May it wouldn't. Maybe it didn't even happen. After all, he uh, this hadith wasn't related to the topic. It may be something like this hadith too. So I will simply skip this.
Defending women's rights. This next topic is not PG, but we need to tackle it head on. The Quran's stance on sexual relations with female captives. Surah 424 says, also prohibited are women already bound in marriage Except the bondwomen you come to own. Surah 23, 1 through 6 echoes the same sentiment. Success is really attained by the believer.
Uh, I'm not sure. Wait. Uh, I didn't read this verse, but it should be true. Other than that, uh, this verse doesn't mean you can simply kidnap women uh, and rape them. Uh, the bondwoman,
Believers who
uh, the bondwoman talk. This is allowed, but its purpose to be allowed is for some extreme cases. The so-called bondwoman must be a slave even before the Muslims have enslaved them. If a Muslim enslaves a free woman, they uh, don't get in this class, as I understood when I searched about slaves. But this is true.
who guard their private parts except from their wives or from those bondwomen who are owned by their hands, as they are not to be blamed. Surah 70:30.
Most probably, if your wife forbids you to sleep with them, you can still you can't sleep with them neither. But uh, it should be true.
Offers similar guidance. But what exactly does this mean in practice? The Hadith fills in all the gory details. In Sunan Abu Dawood, it's recorded the Apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Autas during the Battle of Hunain. They met their enemy, fought, and took captives. Some companions of the Apostle were reluctant to have relations with the female captives in the presence of their husbands, who were unbelievers. So Allah, the Exalted, sent down the Quranic verse, and all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. That is to say, they are unlawful for them after they complete their waiting period. So this implies that the men could have sex with captive women regardless of their marital status. So yeah, the historical texts paint a pretty grim picture.
Wait. Probably wait.
After they complete their waiting period. So this implies that the men could have sex with captive women regardless of their marital status. So yeah, the historical texts paint a pretty grim picture. Let's talk a little bit about temporary marriages, or nikah muta, which is basically
Islam doesn't allow temporary marriages for sex trade. It's class. It's like it's treated like prostitution anyway. So I actually don't care what he says.
contracts. Surah 424 says, "To those of them whose company you have enjoyed, give their dues as obligated. There is no sin on you in what you mutually agree upon after the initial agreement." So this suggests that after enjoying a woman's company,
This verse is true, but it doesn't exactly mean that. I read this verse. Uh, it doesn't exactly mean that. Uh, it's about something. I guess it was about divorcing. I don't exactly remember about, but it should be about divorcing woman. When you divorce, you should give some money to a woman, uh, and probably this verse talks about that.
what you mutually agree upon after the initial agreement. So this suggests that after enjoying a woman's company, you're supposed to give her payment. That sounds pretty transactional. Sahih Bukhari explains, "We used to participate in the holy wars carried on by the Prophet, and we had no wives with us. So we said to the Prophet, 'Shall we castrate ourselves?' But the Prophet forbade us to do so, and thenceforth he allowed us to marry a woman temporarily by giving her even a garment." So Muhammad allowed temporarily, he allowed us to marry.
I'm not sure if this exists, but I don't exactly understand what it says neither, so I won't talk about this.
A woman temporarily by giving her even a garment. So Muhammad allowed temporary marriage, even for something as minor as a piece of clothing. This practice looks a whole lot like prostitution under the guise of temporary marriage, not really feminism and equality at work here. Finally, there's this wild story about Muhammad's marriage to his adopted son's wife.
Uh, Even if this is true, it must be because of the situation. in ordinary situations you can't do that. Up I looked at this in internet. You can't do this in ordinary situations, even if this hadith is true, and I'm not sure if it is. uh, it must be because they are inside of the war.
by his adopted. Finally, there's this wild story about Muhammad's marriage to his adopted son's wife, Zainab. One day, Muhammad drops by his adopted son Zaid's place. Zaid's not around, but his wife Zainab is there. When she opens the door, Muhammad's like, "Praise be to the one who changes hearts and sights." There's this moment between them, and she picks up on Muhammad's whole vibe. Later, when Zaid returns, she spills the beans. Since Zaid was Muhammad's adopted son, this relationship was a total no go according to Islamic law. Zainab started mistreating her husband, and whenever she did so, Zaid would go complain to Muhammad, who told him to just keep his wife to himself and fear Allah. Eventually, the husband had enough and divorced Zainab. Muhammad then conveniently gets a revelation saying God wants him to marry Zainab. Surah 33, 37 through 38 spells it out, basically saying that God gave the green light for Muhammad to marry his adopted son.
So it basically says if you have an adopted son, uh, and if he had a wife, if he divorces, you can marry it. I don't see anything wrong with that. Other than that, the story he told about uh,
Was a total no go according to Islamic law. Zainab started mistreating her husband, picks up the door. Muhammad's like, "Praise."
I don't. I personally don't feel anything wrong with uh, my adopted child's ex marrying my adopted child's ex-wife, but the Prophet Muhammad raising the Zainab before Zainab divorced the Zayd felt like make up to me, make up to me.
Adopted son's ex wife, and oh yeah, he abolishes adoption in the process. It's like Muhammad's rewriting the rules
What
to
is adoption? I don't know what is adoption.
his desires. Now, according to this eternal word, you can still care for an orphan, but that particular orphan can never call you mommy or daddy, all because Muhammad couldn't seem to help himself. Moses did allow divorce and even guidelines for marrying captive women. As Christians, we ought not skirt that. But Jesus did say that these were concessions due to hard hearts, not God's ideal. Jesus restored the original blueprint for marriage from Genesis, where one man and one woman become one flesh, a sacred bond for life. Under the new covenant, Jesus raised the standards, even going so far as condemning lust as adultery. Unlike Muhammad, Jesus also valued women, welcoming, healing,
Uh, I don't believe in this. If you believe in this, it's your opinion.
and forgiving them, and showing respect and compassion unmatched in his time.
So that's it. Thanks for watching.